Eleanor Roosevelt once aptly said, "The future belongs to those who believe in their dreams." And we wish 2021 promises to bring all your dreams come true with a lot of happiness and goodwill. And that is why we bring to you our first episode of this year with a bang. Hello and welcome to yet another powerful episode of our show. But before we proceed, I would request you to subscribe to our channel and be a part of our community. Dr.Shawna Pandya is a living example of someone who believes in pushing the limits and much more. She had a dream and went marching ahead with full force to achieve it. She has recently been chosen as an ambassador for PoSSUM 13, which is an initiative for space opportunities and engagement made more accessible to students, especially girls and young women. Isn't that incredible? So I'm so proud to present to you all Dr. Shawna Pandya. Here we are in conversation with the unstoppable, invincible Dr. Shawna Pandya, who has left no stone unturned, be it that she's a physician, a scientist-astronaut candidate with Project PoSSUM, she's an aquanaut, a martial artist. She can also give a run to the top runway models for money. Hello, Dr. Shawna Pandya. Welcome to Women Influencers Talk Show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me on the show today, Sadaf. It is my honor and pleasure to be here.
Thank you. After Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams, you are the third Indian origin woman astronaut, and I'm sure you must have heard this a zillion times, but we are so proud of it and can quote it again and again. So was it something that you always wanted to do as a kid?
Space has been a lifelong passion of mine. Like a lot of children growing up, I wanted to be an astronaut. I just never grew out of that dream. And so a lot of what I did throughout school, through university, throughout medicine, and my master's program was geared at wanting to go to space.
Awesome. Now, with your roots being in Mumbai, you were born and brought up in Canada where you live at present. How was your childhood like? I mean, what kind of upbringing did you have being an Indian in a foreign land?
My childhood and my upbringing and my Indian roots definitely played a role in who I am today. And what I mean by that is my parents moved to Canada in the 1980s with all of their possessions in a few suitcases. And they set out to build a whole new life for themselves in Canada with all of their possessions and very little money. And, you know, it takes a lot to build up a life from scratch. They worked very, very, very hard. And I saw that work ethic and internalized it because for me that was normal. What you see when you're a child is the only universe you know. And so I think that was a huge credit to who I am today because for me, having an incredible work ethic, knowing how to work very, very, very hard is central to who I am. And I definitely credit a lot of that to my parents and who they are.
Alright, now at such a young age when most of the kids are not even sure about what they want to do in life, forget about pursuing their passions, you were so sure about what you want to do in life. For example, let's talk about your work on disaster response and you're working on technology that affects humans and global health. Could you please elaborate on that and what motivated you?
So what I've learned as an adult is that it is possible to set huge dreams as a child. And it's absolutely possible to recognize and realize your dreams in so many different ways as an adult. The key is, we talked about having a work ethic, and the other part of that is making a plan to get there. Because a dream without a plan isn't a goal, it's just a dream. And so for me, having big dreams on space and technology, in changing the world and addressing major issues that affect humanity, they can all be done, but it all comes down to having a plan in addition to a big dream.
Okay, so after finishing your bachelor's degree in neuroscience from the University of Alberta, you went on to finish your master's in space sciences from the International Space University in France, and then later on went to finish your MD in medicine from the University of Alberta. Please share about this journey.
All of those journeys were very, very formative. And so what kicked me off was being inspired. So we talked about this lifelong vision and this dream of wanting to be an astronaut. And I was lucky enough to grow up in Canada in the 1990s when Dr. Roberta Bondar, Canada's first female astronaut and physician, made it to space. And she was a role model for me. I looked at her background, I said, she's Canadian, she's a female, so I'm Canadian, I'm a female, so now all I need to do is be a neuroscientist, a doctor, and an astronaut, and it was that simple. And that really set me on my path to pursuing a degree in neuroscience, to going to want to be a doctor of medicine, to pursuing that path into space.
Sure, we all have our role models, isn't it? Dr. Shawna, you have previously interned with the Johnson Space Center in NASA, which is like a dream come true for most of the kids. How was the experience in NASA?
Working at NASA was like a dream come true. It was like being at Disneyland for space nerds. And the amount of passion and work that people put in to work together as a team to realize astronomically lofty goals and to witness and be part of that firsthand was incredible. The other part about that story is that I was one of 2 Canadian medical students selected that year to go down to Johnson Space Center. And we were briefed at the Canadian Space Agency before we were sent down to NASA, and they told us that whatever Canadian astronauts were down there training, they would have liaise with us. And you're thinking in your medical student mind that that's nice to say, but they're astronauts, I'm sure that they're very busy. And to my surprise, Chris Hadfield, who was training to be commander of the International Space Station at the time, Dr. David Saint-Jacques, Jeremy Hansen, all of the Canadian astronauts down at NASA took time to meet with us, spend time with us, answer our questions, even though they were so busy. And that was a huge lesson for me, that even to this day that I carry with me, that no matter how successful we get, we have a duty to pay it forward, because we have something to teach the next generation, and I personally wouldn't be where I am if others who were more advanced in their careers didn't take the time to invest in me.
So true. And as someone great once said, that knowledge is of no use unless you use it and share it. Dr. Shawna, you have completed over 100 parabolas in microgravity till date. The concept of feeling 1.8 times heavier to weightlessness, and that too within a matter of seconds, is just incredible. How was your experience with your first parabolic flight, and how do you get used to extreme changes?
Whether it's the first time you're flying in 0G or the 100th time, the feeling never gets old. It's always incredible to be weightless. And then to know that you're working with a very skilled team, a very tightly knit team, and that you're doing so in the name of science and technology development is an incredible feeling. And I hope that feeling never goes away, but for me, every time I get to be weightless is as good as the first time.
Of course, there are some experiences which you just enjoy, and frankly speaking, there are no words to describe how you feel. Dr. Shawna, how do you handle such accomplished roles, from being the director of the International Institute of Astronautical Sciences to being the chief instructor of the IIAS PoSSUM Operational Space Medicine course, from being the chair of the Strategic Directive for the PoSSUM 13 to being the clinical lecturer at the University of Alberta, and much more?
My schedule is extremely hectic, it's true, and there's a few keys to my success. So first of all, I love everything that I do. So I can work very, very long days. There can be a lot of hours in a day, and a lot of this is fueled by passion. And I don't think I would be able to keep up this pace if I didn't love what I did so much. The other key is just being surrounded by good people. The teams I work with, the people in my life, both professionally and personally, they are a huge part of my success. I couldn't do what I do without the amazing people around me.
All right. You are pursuing, rather now completing your fellowship in wilderness medicines, so which will add another feather to your cap. Please elaborate on that.
When we talk about when we talk about my pursuit of a fellowship in wilderness medicine, this is a passion pursuit. When we talk about space medicine and we talk about Earth, the commonalities are we're talking about remote, resource-limited environments. So whether we're talking about a remote village in rural India, whether we're talking about Canada's Arctic, whether we're talking about space, the commonality is we may not have all the resources and bells and whistles of a big hospital in a major city. And medicine needs to be a little bit different. And so for me, it's all about making healthcare access and delivery better in these settings.
Well, wishing you all the very best. Dr. Shawna, you are also an acting ambassador on the Mars simulation mission in Utah. What do you foresee as the future of humans on Mars? I mean, for a common person, this is an alien world.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And this ties back to the concept of space medicine. So I often get asked, I know what space is and I know what medicine is, but what's the commonality? What is space medicine? And what we need to know about the space flight environment is that it's incredibly hazardous. I like to say that space is trying to kill you. And so there's many hazards to human health in space, including decreased or zero gravity, increased radiation, being away from the usual resources of Earth, having a communication delay with Earth, and then being isolated and confined. And so when we look at the environment of Mars, all of these factors come into play. We have 1/3 gravity, so if you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you weigh 33 pounds on Mars. You have increased radiation, being that far outside of or being on a planet where there's no protective magnetosphere. So Mars truly is an alien world, and the space medicine challenge that we have to solve going forward is how do we keep humans healthy and healthy enough to thrive on Mars.
Wow, all that sounds incredible and awesome. Dr. Shawna, please give us some insight on the Astronaut Mentality webinar series that you directed during this pandemic, and what other work that was crucial to helping people during COVID-19 that you were a part of.
So this year is a very strange year for every single one of us on planet Earth. And I don't think any one of us anticipated that 2020 would set out like this. And believe it or not, there's a lot of commonalities between being isolated on a simulation in the Mars desert, like I was in January of this year, and being isolated in quarantine with your family. And so when we talk about what it takes to succeed in an isolated and confined environment, a lot of it has to do with lessons learned and psychological resilience. And so the Astronaut Mentality webinar series was a 10-part webinar series that myself and my colleagues created through Project PoSSUM, taking those lessons learned in harsh environments and sharing how we used our own lessons to adapt, overcome, and be better. And we shared them because we thought that, the rest of the world might be interested to hear about those lessons and how they could help them thrive in COVID-19.
All right. Now, recently you have been chosen as an ambassador for PoSSUM 13, which is an initiative to make space opportunities more accessible to students, especially girls and young women. Can you tell the young women who are watching this show about what made you choose this line and profession?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so when we talk about the importance of representation, inclusion, diversity, it really hit home with me one day when I was giving a keynote to a group of STEM undergraduate students and women. And one young lady came up to me afterwards. She was of Southeast Asian background, and she said, "Seeing someone like you up there makes me realize that I can do this." And hearing her say that really hammered home the value of diversity and inclusion initiatives. And it's why I make such a concerted effort to be part of such initiatives, including the PoSSUM 13, So for those who don't know, the PoSSUM 13 is named in homage to the Mercury 13. And the Mercury 13 were a group of 13 female aviators chosen after the Second World War to undergo the same tests as the Mercury 7 astronauts. And in every case, they performed as well as, if not better, than the Mercury 7. And so the name is an homage to the Mercury 13. And our mandate is to let women know that they belong here, that there's space for them as well. So that's why I'm a staunch advocate and part of the PoSSUM 13.
That's wonderful. Dr. Shawna, you started your own company called CV Guard in 2009. Beside this entrepreneurial streak within you, what was the motivation behind doing so?
Yeah, this goes back to one of the earlier questions. So, for me, CiviGuard was founded in response to Singularity University's challenge to positively impact 1 billion people in 10 years using emerging technologies. And what we found is when you're with the right group of people, no problem is too big. And so in our case, we were 9 people from 7 countries, and we asked the question, what is a problem that affects anyone, anywhere, anytime? How can you positively impact 7 billion people in 10 years using accelerating technologies? And for us, the answer was disaster response. Disasters, natural and man-made, affect anyone, anywhere, anytime. And so this was the problem space we chose to work on. And we realized that smartphones and their geolocation aware abilities were an emerging technology at the time. And that's how CiviGuard was born. And, it really was working with the right people in the right environment.
Okay, Dr. Shawna, apart from these degrees and achievements, in more simple life, you are an author, a taekwondo champion, and have also trained in Muay Thai with the Navy SEALs. And if that is not enough, you have walked the ramp with the top runway models. I mean, you make us wonder, is it possible to achieve all of this in one lifetime? What are your comments?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think one of the most dangerous mentalities to get into is the idea that I've made it or I'm doing well enough. And for me, my challenge is to do a little bit better and outdo myself today compared to where I was at yesterday. And so for me, I'm always pushing the limits and I'm always trying to see where can I go to next.
Oh yes, we can all see what a multifaceted personality you are, and you make us all wonder. Now before we wind up today's episode, let's have a rapid fire round. So my first question to you is, what is your nickname?
Doc.
Of course. What is your favorite memory of India?
Family and food.
Okay, now life as an astronaut.
Stellar.
Sure. So Dr. Shawna, if not an astronaut, what career would you have chosen?
Maybe an explorer and inventor.
All right. What's on your bucket list?
To go to space.
Oh yes, and all the very best. Now, what is your favorite food?
Anything my mom makes.
Okay, don't we all do that? So my next question to you is, what do you value most in life?
Family and friends.
Okay, what is your best friend's name?
They know who they are.
Smart reply. What is your dream vacation be like?
Anywhere I get to explore.
You are a true explorer in your heart. Dr. Shawna, what advice would you like to give to a 16-year-old Shawna?
Pick your biggest dream and then dream even more, because you will land beyond your wildest expectations.
That's a great advice. Dr. Shawna, what's your worst fear?
Not achieving everything that I've set out to do.
Well, we wish all the best to you and we wish all your dreams come true. Now, before we say goodbye to you, what are your thoughts about our show?
I think that any platform that showcases women across the globe doing amazing things, women elevating women, is a wonderful initiative. So kudos to you and your team for bringing this initiative about, and thank you for including me. Thank you so much, Sada, to you and your wonderful team for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shawna, for your kind words, and I thank you so much for coming on our show and giving us your precious time and sharing your extraordinary journey of life. That was just incredible. Thank you so much once again, and all the very best. And all you beautiful people, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, you know what to do. So till we meet next time again with another influencer, take care, stay safe, and be happy.